These are the plaintiffs, Barbara and Stanley Beard. Barbara says they've lived peacefully in their house for 20 years and want to continue to do so. But the defendants can't control their dogs, and it's become a big bone of contention between them. The defendant's dog constantly digs holes in their fence, damaging it, and the problem hasn't been resolved by the defendants trying to use bricks and tires to cover up the holes. They're here suing their neighbors for the $2,625 it's going to cost to fix their fence. These are the defendants, Faye and William Seward. Faye says, first of all, when they moved into their house in 2011, the fence was already in terrible shape. Secondly, they have two 15-pound dogs who don't dig holes. And thirdly, she's been in and out of the hospital after neck surgery and a head-on collision, and can't wait to put this lawsuit behind them. They're accused of being doggone neglectful.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket. The plaintiffs and the defendants are neighbors, and they're in a big fight over a fence. The plaintiffs say the defendants' dogs ruined that fence. But the defendants say the fence was in disrepair when they moved in 2011, and they own nothing. It's the case of being doggone neglectful.
Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Beard, you folks you share a back fence with each other, you and the defendants?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, and tell me what happened to the fence that you feel it's their responsibility to fix it.
Their dogs were digging underneath the fence, and for them to try to control the fences, they were putting stuff up against the fence, and the fence is leaning over now because of that.
Okay.
One of the posts are cracked, and the other thing, the slats are starting to pop out because of all the stuff that they were piling up against it to prevent the dogs from coming in.
Okay, so this is a picture that's taken. Is this all the stuff on their side?
Yes.
Wow. Okay. What kind of dogs does she have? Do you know?
I have no idea.
What kind of dogs, Mr. and Mrs. Seward, what kind of dogs do you have?
Chihuahua mix.
Okay, well, they're diggers, apparently. This is the fence is leaning in. This picture that I'm looking at is taken from your property?
Yes.
All right,
Yes.
and all this happens what year?
It was really beginning to happen around in 2015. I was calling the code enforcement, the animal control, and that's when they were starting to pile the stuff up against the fence to prevent the dogs from digging underneath the fence.
Okay. So they start putting stuff against the fence, and how long does it take before that starts to ruin the fence?
About 2 years.
All right, so now there was also a tree in question. This is a palm tree, and here's a picture of it. Are you standing in your property when you take that picture?
Yes.
So this palm tree is growing, and is the fence a shared fence? Is it on the property line? Did one person install it? Did another person? What is this fence?
We put the fence up.
What happened with this tree? Because that's ruining the fence too.
We don't know how old the tree is. It was there since we moved there 23 years ago. So as the tree is growing, it's going wider and wider and wider, and that's when it starts to push against the fence. So we made an agreement that if you they told us that they were going to fix the fence.
And here is an agreement you guys reached. When did you reach this agreement? In 2018, August of 2018.
Yes.
Where you're going to remove the palm tree and they're going to repair the fence, correct?
Correct. And that was in good faith.
Okay. Did you remove the palm tree at your own expense?
Yes.
Did they fix the fence?
Nope.
No, ma'am.
Okay. Mr. and Mrs. Seward, let me hear from you. What's going on?
We moved in 2011. That fence was already in bad shape. In fact, we went to them a few days after we got there and asked them if we could go through their backyard and repair some of it because it was coming apart. And which we did, and I sent pictures of the bolts that we put in through their side to ours. I admit our dogs have dug under her fence, but yes, we did put things up against the fence, but the fence was already in really bad shape. We even offered to pay half when we moved in. I said, I would pay for half that fence and you can pay for half the fence. And we did agree if she would take the fence, if she would take the tree down, we would replace the fence with the fence in our backyard that she
But
saw
then you
we already
didn't.
had.
But then you didn't.
I didn't. Let me explain, and I apologize, but I had to have open heart surgery on 2018. I was unable to physically do anything, and then right about the time I was getting ready to be discharged of being okay, I was in a head-on crash and ended up with neck surgery where I had a disc removed and fused two things. So physically, for 2 years, we have not been able to. She called.
But wait, what's he doing? So while she was trying to come back to being a healthy human, what were you doing that you couldn't get it fixed?
I was helping her, and I was working full time. I've been working.
And it takes two to repair a fence, not one.
Then you can afford to pay somebody to fix it if you don't have time to fix it, you see? Here's the thing. If she was suing you 2 months after you'd written the agreement, I understand. But this is a person who waited 2 years. You're going to tell me that in 2 years you didn't have an afternoon to do what you promised you would do? And so where are we? You finally wake up. I don't know why you're waiting 2 full years. Why do you wait 2 full years? But you do. And then what do we have? You run into her at Walmart or something, and then she says, oh, yeah, we're going to fix. And then nothing happens. And then you text her, and then the fun begins. Give me one moment. At some point, she texts you, and this is on May 25th. Is that of this year? Yes. Where you say, Faye, this is Barbara behind your yard. Back in 8/18, you and your husband signed a statement that you would fix my fence. Please reply back by text on a date when you plan to fix the fence. You say to her, this is to inform you that as of June, we are selling the property and will no longer be residing there, so you're welcome to fix your own fence. What? Are you kidding me? They paid $400 to remove the palm tree based on your promise, and you have the nerve to say, hey, I didn't get around to it, and not, I'm so sorry, let me take care of it. It's, I didn't get around to it, and, oh, and by the way, we're moving, so you can fix your own fence. Shame on you.
Welcome back to the People's Court. It's the Hatfields and the McCoys, the 2020 edition. Will the plaintiffs get more than $2,600? Let's find out.
You see, that document that you signed back in August 18th is a contract. A contract is someone making you an offer and you making an acceptance, and the two of you give up something. They give up $400 and remove a palm tree because it was damaging their fence, and you let them pay that $400 because you promised that you're going to repair the fence. Repair the fence. That is what your contract says. Now, Mr. and Mrs. Baird, let us talk about what it is that it's going to cost you to replace that fence, because that's the deal you struck with her, to repair that fence. And you have an estimate for replacing the entire fence. It's $2,225, but you're also suing for the $400 to cut down the palm tree, right?
Correct.
Well, how come? Because their obligation to fix the fence comes from the contract you're trying to enforce, which meant that you're supposed to eat the palm tree.
Well, they never fixed okay, I kind of understand what you're going at.
Yeah.
'Cause, you know.
So they never fixed the fence. I am finding in favor of the plaintiff. You don't need to say another word. I'm finding in favor of the plaintiff in this case in the amount of $2,225. That's what you're out by virtue of them breaching the contract. The $400 you were always supposed to absorb. And of course, your court costs. Verdict for the plaintiff.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Permit.
So the plaintiff gets a judgment of $2,200, a little bit over that, against the defendants, the Seawards. Mr. and Ms. Seward, let me just ask you a couple of questions. The judge kind of let you have it in this trial today. You kind of come off looking like really rather nasty neighbors. How do you respond to that?
We're not nasty neighbors. I'm glad she won. She's happy. That's all that matters. We have moved, and we're happy. Life goes on.
So you're gone. You're not there anymore. You've moved totally away, but you still have to pay this money, you know? It's a legal judgment. So you're going to
It's
you're
okay.
going to have to pay.
It's over.
It's fine. It's over. And the judge rules, and I abide by the rules.
Okay, very good. You seem happy about it, but I'm sure you're not. Mrs. Beard, Mr. and Mrs. Beard, how about you? How do you feel about this now?
Right now, her daughter's living there, and they have a dog that barks all day long.
Really?
They got it too
So
big
you still
that
got
it can't
another problem?
tolerate the- Oh, I forgot to ask the judge. I would like to know if we could go on their property to fix the fence.
That's when you'll have to talk to your neighbors about that. Anyway,
she's
congratulations. You're getting a little over $2,200 from your neighbor, and they are going to have to pay. So that's it. Thank you very much. Very interesting neighborly dispute. Now, let's get another session now of after the verdict. Here are the judges.
Well, 50 or 60 years ago, the American poet Robert Frost said that good fences make good neighbors. And I think that's probably true. And this wasn't a very good fence, and things kind of went sideways between these folks.
Yeah. So the plaintiff had asked an interesting question at the end. She said, wait, can I go on their property to fix the fence? There's a new owner now, even though it is her daughter.
You'd have to have their permission because you'd be trespassing to go on their property.
Right, but what she needs to do is she needs to check her building and zoning department and ask them for some guidance. Because based on what I have ruled here today, that they should have fixed the fence, I have to imagine that there would be a very simple way for her to get permission from the authorities, whether it's building and zoning or whether she has to apply to a court for that kind of permission. I do not recommend just showing up on their property, especially if there's dogs and the dogs that they're trying to pen in with her fence. But she's going to have to come to some kind of either agreement with the new person who's there, who apparently is their daughter, or she's going to have to seek some authority from building and zoning and or her local court to get permission to go on there. And I strongly suggest that she call the police too and have them present while it's going on. Because I don't know who called who a bee, but somebody there,
Yeah, there was some colorful language.
There was some colorful language coming out of there.
In the hallway.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, hopefully whoever's there next really wants a nice fence and this whole thing gets
Well,
done.
it's their daughter.
Yeah. Well.
And we'll see.
When the COVID vaccine comes out, will everybody be forced to get one? They cannot realistically force everybody to take a vaccine. And the problem is that a lot of people aren't taking it because they're anti-vaxxers or they're afraid. And these vaccines are going to be vital to tamping down COVID. So this may not take us out of the woods even when a vaccine is developed.